Do you know what I think the beauty of editing is? Is that shooting these videos, you can edit it and no one knows what wine bottle you actually are on.
Hey, raise your hand if you're confused by the wine world. I think most of us are, and here I am giving you 5 common myths about wine, and I'm trying to demystify them. And before we jump into this video, I actually wanted to show you the wine that I'm currently drinking while filming this video. And today it's this wonderful bottle of Beaujolais. So Beaujolais wines are the ones that I enjoy quite a lot. Those are lighter red wines, and this one in particular I haven't tasted yet, but just to give you a little background, Beaujolais wines are from the Burgundy region of France, and they're lighter body wines. They're really, really good with hors d'oeuvres and some mild cheeses. I'll talk about Beaujolais a little bit more in my video today, but this is the one that I'm currently drinking, so let me give it a sniff. A sniff and a swirl and a sniff. So it is definitely lighter body. I like to look at my wines with a white or light background, so it's on the lighter side, but not too light. Smells very fruity. I like this one quite a lot. So if I am craving a lighter wine than say a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Merlot or a Malbec, I'll definitely go for a Beaujolais. These are very, very nice wines. It's very nice. It's such a beautiful style of wine. I really, really enjoy it quite a lot. So this one has some notes of blackberries and plums in it, yet it still has that spice. So it's not completely fruity. It actually has a little depth of spices to it as well. So this is what I'm drinking, and let's go ahead and jump into the video. So my point number 1 for today's video, and that is 5 myths about wines, and here I am trying to demystify them, is actually perfect for me drinking this particular type of wine that I'm drinking. So my point number 1 is wine pairings, or pairing wines with certain food. So, you know, I go with the biggest rule of thumb here, and that is pairing red wine with meat and then white wine with fish. I have a lot to say about this one, and I'm trying to compress my thoughts so that it's not too long of a video that I'm filming. But in a few words, I really think that it's the most subjective topic you can possibly bring up when it comes to wine. Yes, as a rule of thumb, your heavier foods usually go with more complex and dense wines, but we can't just go by this box of eating red meat versus eating fish and pairing it with red wine or white wine. Not only because there are so many different factors that can affect you. What if you're a vegetarian? What if your mood affects what you want to drink with a certain food that particular day? There's so many factors. You really can't just say red with meats, whites with fish. And traditionally, wine pairings were actually created from a particular region where foods were grown with the particular wines that were also grown in the area. So just geographically speaking, people used to pair certain wines with certain foods just depending on what they were growing locally. So now we're no longer in that day and age, and we can afford drinking wines from very, very many different regions with very, very many different foods. And I can tell you right now that your piece of meat or your steak will go beautiful with some of the white wines. Your big Chardonnay will go very, very nicely with a red meat, for instance. And on the same token, you know, we have fish as well, and Beaujolais that I'm drinking today will go absolutely wonderfully with fish as well. And don't forget that some of fish out there is actually dense, heavy fish. So your salmon, your tuna steaks, you know, those are not just flaky white fish. So you can't just say white for fish, red for meat. So keep that in mind, and don't let that confuse you, because after all, the whole purpose of a wine pairing is to enjoy your food and enjoy your wine. So it's all about your enjoyable experience, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. My point number 2 for today are that screw top wines are garbage. I have to really think about this one and make sure I don't fall into a trap of believing that, because for the longest time, I thought that screw tops were indeed garbage. I believe that corked wines are the only wines to go for, and the rest of them were just not good. The common belief on the market, I think especially with people who don't know too much about wine, is that screw top wines are usually cheaper and they are inferior to your corked ones. However, if you really look at the industry and what winemakers are telling us nowadays, not only that screw tops are totally fine, they sometimes can be actually more reliable than your normal corks, because they prevent that oxidation that damages wine as opposed to a regular cork much better. So that theory should be completely debunked. I need to keep reminding that to myself too and give those screw top wines another try. One last point to add here is that screw top wines are actually the best for younger wines that are supposed to be consumed within just the first or second year of making or after they were made. So for those wines that are really not meant to be aged, screw tops are totally a way to go. So please don't let that confuse you. Cork, screw top, does not matter. Your wine can be great either way. My third myth about wines for today is that expensive wines are better wines. So for the majority of the times, that is actually correct. However, there's so many disclaimers to be added to this particular myth, and that is that wine industry and winemaking, the price of wine is so largely affected by other factors but just the quality of wine. So you can think of location, you can think of some scores that the wine is given. Celebrity connection is a huge one too. So all of those factors can really drive up the price of wine very high. So you really have to consider what you're paying for. Are you paying for a well-known winemaker, or are you paying for some celebrity connection that just had their picture on the label of the wine, or maybe said that this wine was indeed good? So some of the Psalms, for instance, would do that. They would go with in collaboration with some wine houses and put their names as approved or given it 90-something points. You know, those are such subjective factors. And on the other hand, there are some other wines from less known areas of winemaking that are absolutely incredible. I especially want to point out some imported wines here. Those offer such a great quality for the price that they cost you. And the one that immediately comes to my mind are those Argentinian Malbecs. Those guys cost $10 or under $10, and they never fail. They always serve that good quality, that great taste, and just amazing wine. So please don't get caught up in the price. When I go to the store personally, I set myself a limit right now of about $17 and less. This is what I look at. So I rarely, very rarely, unless I've tried that wine and I truly love it, and I have a couple of those, and I'll probably shoot a separate video on expensive wines and show you my favorite expensive wines later. But for the most part, I give myself that limit of about $15, $17, and guess what? There's such a huge selection of great wines under that price that I never have a problem with that.
I am really playing with the devil here shooting this video at sunset. I need to hurry up.
My fourth myth about wines today is the fact that your wine, or every wine, gets better with age. So I want to demystify this immediately, because people have such big misunderstanding of aging wine and do you need to age wine, that wine gets better with age. All of that just leads me to say that if you have a bottle of wine that's just been sitting on your shelves or in your fridge somewhere, and you were hoping that with years it will gain some value or be a better quality, chances are you might have been wasting your time. I can tell you right off the bat, and this is just cold facts, people, that 90% of all of the produced wines in the world are actually meant to be consumed within the first or second year after they're made. This is cold facts. You can check on this. So yes, there's of course some exception to the rule, you know. So yes, if you do have a 2007 Napa Valley Cabernet, save it. That one will age greatly, and chances are you will really enjoy it 10 years from now. But most wines are definitely made to be drank immediately, and you don't need to age them at all. So fresher wines are the way to go here. So don't wait to drink your wine. If there are some wines out there that are worth of aging, you would probably spend a little more than average on them, or they are already older vintage than is just sold in stores right now, 2017, 18, 19. So for the most part, just go ahead and drink it. You will still enjoy this wine. Wines that are good wines that taste amazing are probably good on their first and second year as well. So you don't necessarily have to age them. And some of the wine enthusiasts actually make it a point they prefer to drink their wines younger. My last myth for today, and that is myth number 5, is that different types of wines require different types of glassware. I can talk about this one forever, really, because I'm such a glass snob when it comes to wine. When I started learning about wine, I can just tell you exactly how I was choosing my glassware. I would go for the largest wine glass that I could find. I always liked very, very thin leg. I like not so big of a base, but then a very nice and big bowl here. I don't really like the ones that are completely round, so I wanted a little bit of elongation here. So that was my criteria to go around wine. And then for my white wines, I would have smaller glasses. And then of course for champagne, I would have flutes. For sherry wines, I would have like tiny little snifters. What was I thinking? I don't know, because looking back at my choices of glassware, and I'm still learning about it, so it's not like I'm perfect right now, I really realized that you don't need that many glassware pieces or glasses to drink different types of wines. Because guess what? Your white wine also deserves a bigger glass that will allow all of the aromas to open up and get into your nostrils while you're drinking it. So it doesn't have to be a smaller wine. Some wines really like larger vessels, so your rosé, your white wines, give them a swirl in a big glass. There's nothing wrong with that. And guess what? Same thing can go for sherry, same thing can go to ports. Why not to put a smaller amount in a bigger glass and really, really swirl it and enjoy the aroma? You don't have to have 12 different types of glasses. The one thing, the big criteria for me, actually, not so much the shape of the glass or how big it is. My biggest criteria is how thin the glass is, because I cannot stand those thick wine glasses. And if you've ever been to a Dollar Tree in your life, you saw the wine ware that they have, the wine glasses that they have, and they're like finger thick when it comes to glass, because it's not good glass and it's not a good quality glassware. So yeah, for me, I'd say that is a big no-no when I see a glass in a store. Even if it checks with my criteria for the size and the shape of it and the leg and the base and all of that, if I see that it's made of a thicker glass, I would probably not get it.
I have such a mood light going on for me here today. I'm filming at sunset, and this is fantastic. Thumbnail.
And this is it. These are 5 myths that I had for you today, and try to demystify them. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below which myths you've heard in your life about wine or any other alcoholic beverage. I'd be very curious to know. If you're new to this channel, support me, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and make sure to like this video. Put your comment down below. I post videos every single week. They're all wine related. So on this note, guys, have a great day. Thanks for watching, and cheers.